So agriculture more than ever is an initiative that the Farm Credit Canada kicked off likely about a year and a half ago. And there are a number of agricultural organizations across the country getting behind this. And it's really a program of patting ourselves on the back, informing the public of agriculture and how it's a good place to have a career. It's a good place to understand. And so, you know, I kind of credit the Farm Credit Canada for doing this. So because we just signed on to it a couple months ago from a Canadian Seed Growers Association standpoint, what we're going to be looking for is young seed growers, and not just young seed growers, but seed growers to come along and talk about being a seed grower and being involved in agriculture. So, you know, the seed industry just needs to get behind this, because all it really is, bottom line, is promoting agriculture and food production. I have said for a few years that we should stop talking about farming and agriculture, and we should start talking about food production. And that's a little bit of what this is. We are about food. Each July we hold an annual meeting, and a couple of the big topics this year was the expectation that Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada will be launching a review of the variety registration system sometime the summer of 2013. We established as CSGA a policy statement that was fairly detailed around the variety registration system back in 2009, when the variety registration system was switching over to the more flexible system and having three parts where there's merit, there's no merit, and there's the third part is no performance testing done. We reviewed that policy and fairly quickly came to the conclusion that we had no reason to change our policy. We think that the system that Canada has in place now for variety registration needs to have a chance to work. And if there's anything broken, it's the government's ability to move seed crop or field crop value chain desires or consensus through the regulatory change process. The system's not broke in terms of us knowing what we want. The system's broke in terms of the government getting it done. The other thing, of course, that we talked about is alternative service delivery, which stemmed out of the March 2012 federal budget. And it's actually remarkable, since the federal government only really came up with some details on that in early July 2012. It's actually remarkable in terms of how much has been achieved within 12 months. And so there were options looked at over the last 12 months. The decision was made to go forward with a third-party arm's length inspection service, multiple service providers. And, you know, there were some questions asked as to, you know, is that the best model and everything else. But in the end, our annual meeting said, yes, let's give this third-party, you know, private third-party arm's length delivery mechanism some time to work and see how it works, and then assess it as we're going along to see how's the quality, how's the service, what's the cost. In the past, when the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, or CFIA, has been doing the crop inspection, seed growers would apply to us for seed crop inspection. We'd process those applications, send them to CFIA, and the inspections would get done. All that is changing with alternative service delivery, because right now it looks like there might be 24, or let's say 24 different service providers for seed crop inspection starting in 2014 on some crop kinds. So we're not going to know who's available to a particular seed grower. We're not going to know what the arrangements are between that service provider and the seed grower in terms of cost and timing and everything. So the seed grower's responsibility is going to change dramatically. The seed grower is going to have to tell us on his application to us for inspection who his service provider is. we'll process the application, get it out to the service provider. The seed grower, because we won't know what they've negotiated in terms of inspection fees, will need to negotiate that directly with the service provider and pay that directly to the service provider. In the past, the seed grower has known the inspection fee, which was the CFI inspection fee, and we collected it on behalf of CFI, so they just submitted everything to us. We don't want the inspection fees anymore, that they need to go directly to the service provider. The seed grower needs to designate who their service provider is going to be. We don't need the maps or directions to the field anymore to provide to CFI. They need to provide that to the service provider. We still want the land location or the GPS coordinators, but that's one of the big things that changes in terms of the responsibility for the seed grower under alternative service delivery. Well, the Canadian Seed Growers Association, and certainly the Canadian Seed Trade Association, thinks that certified seed is the basis for quality assurance throughout Canada's grain handling system. And when you put that in combination with organizations like the Canadian Grain Commission, that's what's given Canada one of the reputations. We obviously want to promote certified seed too, so that there's more demand for our seed growers' products. And we're 109 years old, we've spent decades trying to convey to farmers the benefits of using certified seed. And it has been successful on some crop kinds to one extent or another, but within the last 3 or 4 years we've changed our strategy a little bit, and it's hard to know whether or not this strategy is going to be successful. But now what we're doing is we're going out to the food manufacturers and the bakery associations and trying to use testimonials as to why this bakery or this cereal producer or whatever is buying variety specific grain, or grain produced specifically from certified seed, as a means to create that demand pull. It's early in the lifespan of this end user advocacy that we've embarked on, but there's examples in soybeans and oats and certainly malt barley, and there's some wheat examples. So we're hoping to create some of that demand pull, but to do that we have to have everybody between us and the end user online too. So that means the grain handler that's buying the grain that's produced from certified seed needs to be online with the whatever flour miller, who needs to be online with the baker, and so that's taking us some time. But we haven't switched our strategy yet. We're still putting our eggs in the end user advocacy basket. Hopefully it'll be a success. Yeah, we started out about 3 years ago, actually like 5 or 6 years ago, with a recognition that when university students were entering colleges of agriculture and the study of crop science, they weren't learning much about the seed industry and seed production. So the first step we did was we developed 3 education modules for universities. The first one was kind of an introductory first year. The second one was more in-depth, likely for a 3rd or 4th year student, and then the final one was actually a post-grad kind of thing. And that got some pickup, but the first module, the introductory one, then we got looking at that initially, well, how can we adapt that to agriculture in the classroom? So we worked with science teachers across Canada and did some adaptation of that to get it into primarily high school science classes. And then, the idea came along that, there are some big companies that employ a lot of people in the seed business, and the people that have their feet on the ground might know something about the seed business, but, the accounting people or administration or whoever might not have a good background in the seed business. So then what we started to do is what we call our 2-day seed schools. So again, we've taken that first university module and a little bit of the second university module and even a little bit of the third one, and converted it into a 2-day seed school where they come in and they learn various aspects of the seed industry and seed certification in Canada. And we have 2 different types of seed schools. We held one in May of this year in Ottawa, where we had government people, company people, and association people on the program. And so that was our generic 2-day seed school. We have also had seed schools about a year and a half ago, tailored specifically to what a company wants their dozen employees that they're putting into the seed school to hear. So we've got these 2, and we hope during 2013, 14, 15 that we'll get more of these implemented too. And we're totally open as to whether or not, we just pick Winnipeg as a location and a half a dozen different companies come in, or whether a company in Winnipeg or Regina or Calgary comes to us and says, can you put on a school for 12 or 15 of our employees? So, but it is to give the people that are maybe not, say, working in the seed certification system a little better understanding of seed certification and what it means to Canadian agriculture.